Hello, Ruth here from Bell 10 Gifts. Welcome to the crafting Chez. It's that time of week again where you join me in the garage to stab things and talk to myself for 2 hours. And today's project is going to be this little guy. Now this is Cupid, or my version of Cupid. Cupid was the god of love for the Romans. His mother was Venus and she was the goddess of love, and his father was Mercury and he was the messenger of the gods. Now the version that I'm doing is more of the recent version, more like a little Cupid cherub rather than the traditional Cupid, which was a long-limbed attractive young man. We could all do with more of those in our lives. So yes, cute Cupid is what I'm going to be doing today. We are going to need 2 pipe cleaners. I've got one brown and one white. The white one I'm going to use for the body, but you can use any colour. The second one, I've done it in brown because this is going to be for the bow. If I had a darker pipe cleaner here, I would be using it, but I don't, so I'm just going to use the light brown. You'll just have to imagine. So we're also going to be using some carded Corriedale fibre. This is kind of like a candy floss pink. Again, whilst I'm stuck at home, limited resources, I'm just kind of having, well, doing what I can, but you can do the body in whatever colour you want to. I'm also going to be using some of these, which are wool locks. These are straight from the sheep, and then they're washed to get rid of the lanolin and all the nasty bits from the wool, and then that's it really, and that just gives you this nice curly natural length lock of sheep's wool. And these are perfect for things like hair. I use them a lot for hair on my projects. Also got some silver wings that I've bought in. These are kind of like a synthetic material, quite soft. They're brilliant for things like this, and what I'm going to be doing is making my project to the size of the wing. So you can buy bigger wings if you wanted to make a bigger version, but I've only got the small wings here, so just going to be making a small one. I'm going to be using some blue sewing silks. I'm using these for the eyes because the first attempt I made, I used black beads for the eyes, and as my dad pointed out, he looked quite scary. So Dad, this is for you. We're going to be doing the blue silk, and I've used this for my second attempt and it looked quite good, so yep, using that again. I've also got a needle and thread, which is silver thread. Now I'm using quite a bit of the silver thread because this is going to be for the string of the bow, also for attaching the wings, and also for the hanging tag. And we have also got, if I can pick it up, a little fig leaf that I've made out of acrylic felt. So all I did was just take a piece of acrylic felt in green that I've got, and I just cut out, if I fold it in half, that shape. So just little leaf, half a leaf on the bend, and it just gives you that little fig leaf shape. If you're going to cut your own out, I definitely recommend going online, just having a look at some of the different pictures that you can find on Pinterest or Google of a fig leaf. Just when you're cutting yours out, I definitely recommend going online and just having a look at pictures of real fig leaves, just so that you can get the shape right for yourself. It doesn't have to be fig leaf shape, it could be ivy shape, it could be any shape you like really, or you could put on a nappy for him. I did try that on my first attempt, but I wasn't keen, so if you wanted to do a nappy you can do. I just used a piece of white acrylic felt that I cut into a triangle and just sewed on. Tools wise, we're going to be using finger protectors. I've got a slightly smaller one which I found out when I was tidying, so this is going to be for my thumb, the bigger one for my finger, just to protect, and this is the hand that's going to be holding my work. I've got scissors, always handy for cutting bits off, and the needles that I'm using today are my medium needle and my small needle. Now you can use generic needles for this, in which case your medium needle is your medium length one and your small needle is your short one. My short needle today it's a 38 gauge star needle. You don't need one of those, it's just what I've got in the handle. Just any fine needle would do for this. So to get started, we do this slightly differently than we would normally, in that I'm going to be making the accessories, the bow in this case, first. So take your brown pipe cleaner, and we want about 7 centimetres worth of pipe cleaner. Put your nail against the remaining pipe cleaner and just bend. There we go, because we want it quite a tight bend there, but we want a little bit of a gap because we're going to be sewing through that in a minute. Now what we're going to do is just hold on where you've bent and twist, and we're going to twist all the way down the pipe cleaner, just bringing this together. Keep going till you reach the end. Then that's my end there. We're going to cover that over, so we're going to go a little bit further, about 1/2 centimetre. Same again, nail in, fold, hold on to where you've bent it and twist over the top. This is just to get rid of any of those nasty edges. Go. We're not going to go right to the end. We want to leave a little section, again about 1/2 centimetre right at the end there. With your scissors, just going to snip off the remaining pipe cleaner. If you've got fancy scissors, definitely don't use them for this. Just use some general bog standard scissors, because you're cutting through metal, so you don't want to damage them. So there we go. I'm just going to give that an extra twist. It can be quite sharp, so you might want to put on your finger protectors just for that final twist, just so that you don't end up cutting yourself. Now this is going to be the main part of our bow, so we're just going to bend it gently. There we go, in the middle, so you've got your curve. And then what you can do is halfway between, so like 1/4 of the way along, put your thumb in and bend just a little bit the other way. Same on the other side. There you go. We'll be reshaping this anyway once we've added the string. So I'm going to add the string next. So with your needle and thread, I'm folding it double just because I want it to be reasonably strong. Okay. And this time I am going to tie a knot in the end. I found that this helps. So what we're going to do is just take the end, just put a little knot in, pull it through, and then pull tight. There we go. What we're going to do is take our needle, and where we bent the pipe cleaners, there's a little loop at the end. So we're going to find that and put our needle through. And then we're going to put our needle through our joined threads here and pull tight. And you see there the loop's just closed around our thread and it holds everything in place. Go. Now we're going to come back and we're going to go through the other loop at the end of the other end. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go round and round, so effectively kind of winding our thread round itself, and work our way up to the top there. And we want it reasonably tight. Once we get to these ends where we first started, we can wrap around these two, which will help to hide them. So I'm just pinching them together, wrapping round. Don't worry if there are a few loose bits, because we can hide those when we're felting later. So working my way all the way to the top. Now this gives us a thicker string, which is great, and we want to be able to see it. We don't want it to be invisible. Go, so just making sure it's really twisted. Then I'm going to go through that loop again at the end of the pipe cleaner. I'm going to do a little knot, and probably another one as well, because we don't want this to come undone. Pull that tight, and then what we can do is just with our needle take it through the pipe cleaner. We're just going to snip off the excess there. Okay, so that gives us our bow, and you can play with this by bending it a bit more if you want those bits up, but you get the idea, just a basic kind of bow shape. Now the reason we did this first is because what we're going to do is we're going to create the hands and wrap them round the bow as we work. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So take your white pipe cleaner, we're going to fold it in half and we're going to cut it in half. And this is going to be the arm and leg for each side. So got our pipe cleaner there. I'm going to take my pink fibre, and what I'm going to do is we want it in strips. So get rid of any other colours that might be on it. We're just going to get a small section, just a pinchful of fibre, and we're going to pull it off along the whole length of our strip of roving. Now this is quite a long strip of roving, so we probably won't need all of this. I'm just going to snip it in half. There we go. But what we want is just a continuous length of roving. This might actually be a little bit thick, so I'm going to pinch that in half again. As usual, less is more. You can always add more fibre, but it's tricky to remove it. So we're just going to have a small section there. Okay. Taking our pipe cleaner, just going to take about a centimetre's worth, lay it over our pipe cleaner, pinch it in place, and then we're going to wrap around, trying to keep your fibre as flat as possible, around the pipe cleaner and work our way down. Now it takes a little bit of practice to get this right, so if it goes wrong just pull it off and try again. Just practice the technique. It's a great technique to have for making things that you want quite fine, for doing body shapes and all sorts of things, so it's a good one to sort of learn and perfect if you can. I'm not perfect at it, but I'll keep going. So wrap down about a centimetre. We're going to take our bow, we're going to fold the bit we've wrapped around the bow, so you see there just a little bit over. And what we're going to do is we're going to continue wrapping around the whole thing, so I'm going over the bit I've just bent, and then I'm going to work my way down the pipe cleaner. I think it's just going to be easier to rotate the whole thing, so I'm using my finger underneath just to keep pressure on the fibre so that it doesn't come undone. And I'm just going to build this up gradually. Now don't worry that it's quite narrow along here, because we're going to work our way down and then we can work our way back up. So I think that'll do for the length of the arm. He's got quite chubby arms, so we don't need them to be too long. So what I'm going to do is start working my way back towards the hand again, and then back, because we want to make sure that we finish off here on this clear piece of pipe cleaner. So we'll work our way back here. So I want to end here because this is where I'm going to stab. What we want to do is keep all of our stabbing to the end that's got the clear pipe cleaner to it, just because it's easier to hide that way. So I'm keeping pressure on, I'm keeping twisting, and what this is doing is as the fibres get narrower, they're attaching more and more to the pipe cleaner. So as I let go, you can see it's not actually coming undone. I could probably leave that as is, but I'm going to give it a couple of stabs anyway just to be sure. So finger and thumb protectors on, pinch between finger and thumb, keep your other fingers out of the way because it's really easy to close your hand around and then stab them from below. And what we're going to do is with our needle working along the length of the pipe cleaner, not going down because we don't want to hit the metal because that can damage your your needle. What we're going to do is just sliding it along the pipe cleaner just under the fibre, just catching those loose ends and giving them a couple of stabs. And what this does is it felts them into themselves as they are around the pipe cleaner and stops the whole end from coming undone, and that's what we want. Let's just put that down, a couple of stabs there. There we go. So I think this wrist is still a bit too narrow for me, so I'm going to add some more fibre. So the section that we pulled off before, what I'm going to do exactly the same, just about a centimetre pointing down towards the unused end of the pipe cleaner, pop that down there, put our thumb on it and start wrapping. Now the reason we leave that centimetre going that way is so that we can wrap over it and that holds that end in place. We don't need to felt that then. So I'm going to work on this wrist just a bit. Ooh, pulled it a bit too much. There we go. There we go, just to make it a bit chunkier. Don't worry if you pull it and it gets a bit narrow, we'll just keep building up. There we go. Now I want this reasonably chunky because the cherubs that you see in paintings, they tend to be really quite chunky little things. So we're going for that look. Now I've got a couple of lumpy bits. Don't worry too much about those. You can actually give them a little bit of a zhuzh just by rolling them between finger and thumb. And we can give those a little bit of a stabbing in a minute. any bits that you see in the fibre, just pull those out. And again, we want to get right to the end to finish. So pull that round. This time we have got a little bit of a loose end, so finger protectors on again, and we're going to stab that into place. Oops. So where your loose fibres are, again, just catch them with the side of your needle and just stab. And you can see there the fibres getting caught up and pushed under. That's what we want. Now, I've got a bit here where I've come at an angle, so I'm just going to stab over that, because don't worry, we're going to be adding more fibre. I'm just giving little stabs, not going very deep, just catching any bits. Now, I'm not quite happy with this bit here, it's still a bit lumpy, so again, using quite a low angle, just doing a few little jabs. And what this does is it catches the slack in the fibre and just tightens things up a little bit. You don't want to overdo it, you don't want to stab straight down, just do little jabs. Just catch that fibre and push it a little bit, and then just give it a little bit of a rub. So there's our little hand and arm. Now we're going to use the other end for the foot. So taking some more of our fibre, again, just make it a little bit thinner. Exactly the same technique for this. Pop your centimetre of fibre there, start wrapping. The only difference here is that we're not going to be wrapping it around any bows or arrows or things. It's just going to be a foot. So I'm going to do the foot length, so I'm going to go a little bit longer this time. I think about that long, so just over a centimetre. I'm going to fold it just tight against itself, you see there, and then we're just going to wrap around. Keep going, maybe a little bit more here because that's going to be the heel, and then work our way down. I've got a bit of twist in that which I didn't want, so I'm just going to pull off a bit, just untwist, keep that tension on, keep working down. And again, we need it to be bigger than this, so don't worry, we're going to be adding more fibre on top, and stab that end into place. Go, same again, we're going to just build up that calf and leg. So imagine this section as being the calf and a bit of a chunky knee. I'm going to bring it down and then back up again because we want quite a big thigh. And as with the fig leaf, it's really quite handy to have pictures that you can work from. There we go. So have a look just online. There's some great pictures on Pinterest to work from for your shapes and things. Just go for whatever you like. There we go. So that's our foot and our hand. We're going to do exactly the same for the other side, only with the other side, instead of grabbing hold of the bow, we're going to grab a hold here of the string. So I shall do that quickly and I'll see you in a few minutes. Now this is quite fiddly having everything attached, so just take it slow. You don't need to rush this bit. I'm fast forwarding it, so I'm definitely not doing it as quickly as you're seeing it. Try and get them equal if you can. Try and match your chunkiness of your arms, but build up gradually, because that way you can always add more if you need to. Okay, they're not exactly the same, they're just kind of roughly about there. You can spend as much time on this as you want though to get them just how you want them. For me, I'm starting to lose the feeling in my fingers and nose, so I'm going to be doing this as quick as I can. What we're going to do next is build up the body. So, taking some more of our pink fibre, we're going to join our legs together and our arms. So, I'm going to put them side by side to start off with. We're going to leave a bit of a gap, and we're going to wrap around some of our fibre. But what we also want to do is create some distance between the legs, so we're going to go in between the two and then round again. Don't worry that this looks completely messy and I don't know what, but we're going to be altering this. So get your loose bits together, finger protectors on, and we're just going to carefully stab these ends into the centre bit here. Our pipe cleaners are just here and here, so we're just going to stab into the fibre we've wrapped around. And what this will do is it'll start touching everything and creating that body shape that we're after. A lot of this project is just adding fibre on top until we get it how we want. So it's kind of like a gradual build up. I'm going to stab in at the sides a little bit, again avoiding the pipe cleaners, just attaching the fibre to the fibre we've just wrapped around. Get our legs, they're about the same length. A few stabs on the other side too. Now this isn't a more in-depth project. You're going to spend a lot more time on this than you would on something like one of the basic shapes. There we go. So there's our legs. They're starting to sort of stand apart a bit, which is great. We've got our arms as well. We need to work out sort of how long we want our arms. Remember, this is supposed to be a cherub, so it's kind of like the proportions of a baby. They're going to be shorter limbs. So we'll say our little elbows there, and those bits, our little elbow would be about there, which means our shoulders are going to be up here. So we need to add some more fibre here. Again, I'm going to just wrap it round and in between the two, because this is going to be where our neck and head go. So we're just building up the body by wrapping the fibre round. Doing it reasonably tightly, not too tightly. We want a bit of give in the fibre because we need to shape things. We're just getting the fibre where we want it right now. So again, stab into place. Take this bit slow because there is a chance you'll hit your pipe cleaner, and that way you can stop if you feel that you're hitting metal. Now, as with the one I've made before, I want it to have a decent sized bum, because you'll find the Renaissance babies, the little cherubs, they're, as I say, really chubby. So we're going to add some more fibre to this to build it up. So again, just between the legs there, I'm going to build up just around the top of each of the legs. And work out which way is going to be your front and your back. So I think this is going to be my back. And a good way to remember which way is to just give your feet a little bit of a bend. You might need to play with this just to get them right. And we're going to have a little bit of a knee bend as well. So that there. And with the other one, actually, we're going to have that. So it's like a traditional pose where they've got the bent leg, the bent foot. And then on the other side, it's kind of stretched out there. It's a shape I'd seen in quite a few paintings, so we'll give that a go. So we've got all this loose fibre. We're going to bring some around to the front as well, and we're just going to stab that into place. Again, little jabs. Use a 45-degree angle. We don't want to be stabbing straight down onto anything because that will leave sort of like holes. So if you go at an angle, it hides them a little bit. And we're just doing them all over, especially at the sides there, because we want to push this fibre towards the front and back, and we don't want any of these lines. We want it to be quite smooth. Now on the back side, we're going to stab up between the buttocks. You can see I'm building up here, stabbing in more at the sides, and we can add more fibre to build up, but we will need quite a solid base to add that too. So we're just working over first, just bringing everything in, getting rid of any fluffy sections or loose areas. But it is always nice as you work to kind of see things coming together. Just coming in a little bit here, which will be the armpit, just because you'll find that normally comes in slightly on the human body, and just smoothing round. So we want lots of curves, and to create your curve you have to imagine that there's like a central line that your needle is always aiming for. So to get the curved side here, my needle's working round, if you see the angle there, so that the point is always aiming towards this central section, and that just gives you that nice rounded edge. Okay, so I want it to be a little bit bigger down there, so taking a piece of fibre, I'm just messing this one up, just kind of starting that felting process, rolling it into a bit of a ball. We're going to lay that over where we want it, and I'm just using my thumb to hold it down in place and just gently stabbing around the outside edge, just stabbing in towards the middle there. See the needle change in direction, and what I'm doing is working around, just attaching the outside edges first, because they're the bits that dictate how far this ball of fibre is going to spread. So we don't want it to spread too far. We want most of the fibre to be here where we want to shape it. So yeah, so I'm just coming up there, stabbing it down, and you can see the loose fibre starting to create that buttock shape. So we're just going to go over that just really lightly. We don't want to flatten it, we just want to get everything so it's attached. And we're going to work around. Again, always stabbing inwards towards the centre of this section. And again, from here I'm just stabbing downwards just to bring this fibre back down where we want it. Okay, now just going to go for an overall kind of stabbing. If you want to make a line appear bigger, you stab to either side of it, and that will help sort of define it. Now this probably needs a bit more fibre, so you can always add more as you go along. But you can see it starting to build up there. There we go. Don't forget to look from other sides and directions as well. Different angles will give you sort of a better idea of what's going on. Seems we're working on a 3D shape. And don't forget to go for the front. Don't worry too much about this area because we are going to be sticking our fig leaf on there. Okay, so this is going to take quite a lot of shaping. It's always the same technique. You just add sections of fibre where you need them and then stab over them just to secure. And if you just go over it gradually, any lines you see like here, we can just stab just quite a low angle, work our way over, just to kind of push the fibre down so that it merges. Now don't worry too much about all the lines, because you'll find that in the paintings of the cherubs they tend to have a few ripples. So yeah, it just adds to the effect. But I'm going to spend a little while just adding more fibre and getting the shape how I want it. Again, look at your pictures that you want to kind of recreate and where the muscles are and where the shapes are, and just kind of go for the basic body shapes, like it tapers in slightly at the waist, comes out towards the shoulder section. There tends to be a line down the centre for the spine. Just aim for those sorts of things, because those, as I say, are the things that will make your piece. Ooh, got a section loose there. Let's pop that there. Yes, that's one of the things about working with a messy work area. You do end up getting pieces of fibre attached where you don't want them, so just pay attention to that. Yeah, so I'm going to take a little bit of break, grab some more fibre because I'm running low, and get the feeling back in my fingers and face, and then I shall be back and finish this off. Whew. Okay, I've just had lunch, I got the feeling back. Gosh, it's cold in here compared to being inside, but we need to get this finished, so I'm going to add some more fibre to the front of the body, just bulk this section out here on the chest, and then it'll be time to add the head. So finger protectors back on, and a bit of stabbing to do. Now you can see that I've added quite a lot of fibre here, so it is quite big. I've got this section here, and what I'm doing is I'm pushing it forward towards the neck area, and just getting the excess fibre up here where I can tuck it away, because I don't really need that on the front. So what I'm doing is I'm stabbing this angle and I'm working my way up towards the neck, still with the needle at this angle, just because I find that this helps me push the fibre that way. go, and again have a look at the overall shape, and then we can start shaping that and evening out the texture a bit. Okay, so we've got the basic shape down and the fibre kind of in the right places, which is what we want. So I'm going to start putting on the head now. For that we're going to need a section of the pink fibre, I think a bit more than that. Go. What we're going to do is just going to roll it into a bit of a ball, squidge it together, place it kind of where we want it, and stab it in. So what I'm going to do is just stab here around the front, which would be the chin area, the neck area, and what we want to do is just attach there to the front first. Now the head's going to be set back so that the body's like so and the head is up here. So we're attaching here to the chest, you can see from the front there. And what we're going to do is make sure it's really well attached here at the front first. And again, get quite a low angle so that we don't end up showing all of these stab holes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just grab the fibre, bring it forward a bit. So this is the top part there in between the shoulder blades. We want to stick around here in kind of a curve, because this would be where the neck would be if it were a real person. Okay, so you can see it's kind of attached now here and here, and I want to bring it back a bit, so I'm just going to pull the ball, just bring it back, and then stab back down in the same place we were stabbing before where that neck would be, and this just firms it up slightly and brings that fibre where we want it. And I'm using little jabs quite close together just to make sure it's firmly attached, and I'm working round. So what we really want to be doing is kind of felting in a circle just underneath all of this. Okay, so once we've got that attached, what we can do is start working from the bottom up, just little jabs, working our way upwards. And what this is doing is it's firming everything up gradually. And once we've got a firm neck and firm sort of chin area, we can felt into that and start bringing everything in. Okay, so I'm just going to pull the ball back a little bit, just so I can get to the underside of the chin area. Now I'm not overly felting this, I'm felting it but I'm not going too dense, so if you squish it there's still plenty of give. That's because I want to add a face to this, so I can add fibre on top, but I want to do kind of like the groundwork for that beforehand out of this big wad of fibre we've got here. So I'm starting to just felt everything down a bit now. Now don't worry about any marks or anything at the back, because we're going to be adding the hair over the top of those. At the front, you can see where I've wound the fibre. We've got kind of like a gap here. Now to me that almost looks like the beginnings of a nose, so I think I'm going to have him facing sideways. So what I'm going to do is just catch the fibres here round these valleys and just stab them towards where I want the nose. And what this will do is it'll fill up that gap and make sure everything's attached, but it also pushes everything else back, leaving this bit here standing proud. So it's quite a good place to leave our nose. So again, just little stabs, not going too deep. I'm just going to stab around the nose area. There we go. Now if that's our nose, our eyes are going to be around here, so I'm just going to stab into there a little bit. And this just sets the eyes back where we want it. It is giving us this big area here, which would be the forehead. We don't want it quite that big, so I'm just going to do some little jabs into it. You see, I'm not going very deep at all. I'm just kind of catching it with the front of the needle. We don't want to overstab this. This is just kind of shaping the face. So we want to firm things up without losing that. Now for the sides of the head, you find that everything goes back a little bit. We've got that rounded shape. I don't want to overstab the cheeks because I quite want like the chubby cheeks. I will push the nose up a little bit though. I'm doing that by stabbing from underneath and just along here. Now if I want this to be my chin, I need to push it back slightly. So with my finger I'm just going to pull it back and then stab just where that join is and I'm stabbing a lot deeper at this point because I want to push that back. Now only start doing this once you know that the head is attached. If you tried this and it wasn't properly attached, you could end up kind of pulling the whole thing off. I'm just going to stab up here just to get those loose bits of fibre on the chest. And I also want to get this underside of the head and bring these in. Now if you wanted to, you don't have to actually do the face like I'm doing. You could instead just leave it blank and just sew on the eyes and maybe sew on the mouth if you wanted to. I'm choosing to felt it, but you really don't need to. If you wanted, you can leave it quite basic. Okay, the top of the head's quite squidgy, so I'm just going over some of that. I think the nose needs to be a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to go over the bridge of it. Just bring it in from both sides and from the top. I want it to be quite cute if we can. The mouth would be about there. Give him a little smile. Now I'm just going to look at the head in comparison with the rest of the body, and it's still huge, so that's good. We can still bring this down. It's very squishy. I'm just going to bring it in and then start making everything that little bit smaller. You do that just by felting evenly over the whole surface. Now I want his cheeks to be quite chunky, so what I'm going to do is just come in around this area here and just under here, which makes this bit stand out just a bit more. So as you can see with sort of my own face, we've got the lines there going in, a little bit there, a little bit there. Sorry, I'm just watching the little camera there. So yeah, we just want to get those bits in too. So a little bit to the side of the nose. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this bit back a little bit because I want to add an ear. Do the same on the other side. Now as always, you can spend as long on this as you want. If you're not happy, it's not done yet. So just spend the time you think you need and take it slow and get the face how you want. This probably could do with a little bit longer, but I'm losing feeling again, so I think this will probably have to do. You can always add more fibre if you want to, so if the nose is getting pushed back a little bit too far, I can always add a little bit on top, but I think I'll make this do. Give it a little bit of rub over with my nail just to help hide some of those little holes, and we can give it a little pinch around the nose area just to bring that forward. Little chin. Pinch and pull. Go. Just do a little stab around the bottom. Okay, so for the ears, I'm just going to pull off a little section. We just want a little bit of the pink fibre. We're going to pull it apart and just roll it into a bit of a ball. Finger protectors back on. Going to pop it where the ear goes, and just going to do a little curve to attach there. Make sure you attach the top and the bottom. So long piece there, we're going to attach, make sure it's attached where we want it there and there, and then on the back going to catch it and stab down in a little curve again. So you see that I'm just doing a little curve. Once you've got that base sort of area done, you can just slowly go over and just thicken it up. And remember, little curve on the inside, bigger curve on the outside, and make sure those ends, the top and bottom, are really stabbed into place. And you can always push up and down from top and bottom just to make it stick out a bit more. Okay, so do the same on the other side, a bit more pink fibre. Mess it up a bit. Probably would have been best for me to measure out equal amounts of fibre for the ears so that they're more even. Just have to make it work. So I'm just going over the head again. You'll find every time you add something or you change something, it'll push something else out of place. So just have a look from different angles, make sure everything's as you want it. I'm just going to make this ear slightly thicker by catching this loose fibre at the top, just bringing it down and stabbing it there. There we go, just thickening it up a little bit. And just bring in the sides of the chin there. Okay, so I've got kind of a face shape going on. I think what we need to do now is add some eyes. I'm going to do that now because we're going to be putting the hair over the top, which will hide our stitches if we show them. So finger protectors off, grab our blue fibre. Now I don't like to tie a knot in the end of my thread, so I just tend to leave it loose. That's just because if you tie a knot in, you have to hide the knot. So instead what I'm going to do is just take my thread, come in through the back of the head and go into one of the eye sockets. Pull the thread and keep pulling just until the end goes inside your felted item. Then going to do a little stitch, just a little stitch, we don't want it to show too much. I'm going to go from one eye socket to the other. Go, do the same on the other side, coming out where our first stitch came through. Give it a bit of a pull. Now these should be very secure, so yeah, I could bounce them about on that, but I won't. So now we've got our thread there, we're just going to do just a little knot, and I'm going to pull it down. Oops. So if you want your knot to go where you want it, just hold the end that's attached to the body, so that bit there where it's attached, I'm holding on to that, and I'm going to hold on as tight as I can, as close as I can to his face. Then I'm going to pull. Goes, gets it this close. I'm then going to put my nail over the top of the knot as is, and just keep pulling just so it's as close to the head as I can get it. Then going to sew back through to the other side. I'm going to go a little bit further out because my first stitch got pulled sideways a little bit. Pull that through. There we go, there's our first one. And for our second one, exactly the same again. We're just going to do a little knot, and then I'm just going to go where that stitch is there, just catch that and sew through back to the back of the head. There we go. I'm going to give his head a little bit of a squish and a pull just to get those eyes where I want them. Now if you find, like I do, this one's a little bit smaller, I'm just going to use my needle just to wriggle it about a bit, just to get it more how I want it. Pop that one across a bit. Go. Once I've got them how I want them, I'm just going to use the scissors and snip off any excess. Should be fine because nobody's going to be pulling on this eye. If you've got pets, children at home, just do a little stitch at the back of the head before you snip off your thread. Okay, so we've got his eyes in place. Again, might have a little play with those. Go. What we need is our hair, so I'm going to get my locks, and I want a little kind of like a kiss curl on the forehead, so I'm going to position that first, and then I'm going to move the others backwards and forwards to fill in the hair. So finger protectors on for this bit. Get your curl where you want it, and then we're just going to stab it in place bit by bit with our fine needle. Now because of the nature of this curl, this fibre, you don't need to over stab it. If you over stab it, you'll lose some of the texture, which we don't want to do. So just a few little stabs here and there, just getting it where you want it. Want it a bit down there by the ears and then back. And you can do a few more little stabs on it. Just don't overdo the stabs. So we'll get that curl positioned. Just a couple of little stabs. There we go. And then with the rest, we're just going to fill out the back of the head here. So this time I started with the narrowest part of the curl, the pointiest part. So that part, but I'm going to use the fluffy parts of the curl, which would be the bit which would be closest to the sheep when you were shearing it. Stab those in. And for this one, the second curl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the opposite way round. I'm going to do the fluffy side first, just to fill in which gaps I want at the back here and give us a bit of bulk. So I'm kind of concertinaing it up. The reason I'm doing it this way is because what I want to do is get this last really curly bit on the top bit where it shows. If I did it the other way round, this would have been stabbed in first and we'd lose it underneath all this fluff. So fluffy end first here at the back, and then we're just going to roll this round a little bit so that we get the textures showing. So have a look from different angles, bring these in. Now if you didn't have locks to work with, you can always just use some normal roving and just concertina it yourself. So you just use very fine strips, stab in one end and then concertina it round just to get that texture. If you can get the locks though, get the locks. They're just so much nicer to work with for this sort of thing. So there we go, just giving him a hairdo. And look at the difference that makes. I mean, really it's hiding a lot of sins. So just bring that up. Yeah, we'll hide that eye, which isn't the best eye. So we've got our little face there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add our wings and our hanging thread. So there we go, these are our wings. Now we're using the same thread for both, so it's so much easier to just do it all in one go. Okay, so I've just threaded on some more silver thread because we're going to need quite a bit for this. We're going to do it all in one go. So we're going to come up through the chest into the back. Again, I'm not putting a knot on this thread, so I'm just going to make sure it goes just inside. There we go. I'm going to do a couple of stitches at the back, only small stitches. Don't worry too much though, because these are going to be hidden by the wings. And you'll probably need to do a few before this thread will stop trying to escape, just because it's quite slidey thread. There we go. So once it's nice and firmly attached, we're going to get our wings. We're going to lay them where we want. So kind of a little bit higher up there, I think. And we're just going to do a few stitches just through the top and at the bottom. Okay, so now I'm just going to come up through the back again. Oops, try not to sew through his hair. Go, make sure they're nice and attached. I'm going to make myself a loop, so I'm just going to wrap it around some fingers. And then I'm going to do another little stitch in the back. Keep your fingers in there, make sure that the thread, because it's folded double, just make sure that they're about the same length. Keep your fingers in and just do another couple of stitches just at the top there. Okay, and once you've done your stitches, we're just going to sew through the front of him again. Take your fingers out of the loop now. Pull it quite tight. Press the scissors just against the body and snip. And if you look there, you can see a bit of a hole, but no fibre. So that's got his little wings on. And then after that, it's just a case of just going round and touching things up. Now you can spend as long as you want on this. You might find the hair needs an extra bit of a stabbing just because it'll come loose, because we haven't stabbed it all that much. So just keep going over it till you're happy. Random stabs quite far apart, just so that we can keep that texture. Okay, got a little hanging tag there. Any sort of final shaping you want to do, now's the time to do it. Go over the whole sort of body and make sure that everything's in place. Okay, so got it kind of how we want it. Our final step is going to be popping on our fig leaf. So take your acrylic felted fig leaf, place it where you want it, finger protectors on, and what we're going to do is just stab a couple of lines in. So take it slow, we want the stabs nice and close together. And what I'm doing is I'm stabbing down in a line, and this line's following the same line that the veins on the leaf would take. So go straight down there, and we're also going to do some straight lines just through the centre of each of the other parts of the leaf. I was going to say petals, but they're not. So the other sections of the leaf. And try and get your stabs repeatedly in the same spots. The more you spread them out, the wider that line gets. We want quite a well-defined line, so stab in the same spots. There we go. Little fig leaf. He's got his bow. What we can do is just get his arms in more of a shooting stance, position. So because it's pipe cleaners, you can actually shape them a bit better. I'm going to pull the other arm back as though it's drawing back the bow. Straighten that one a bit, move that down a little bit. Go, we'll get the legs where we want them. So again, just bend the knee. There we go. And there is our little cherub, or Cupid in this case. Well, I think he turned out quite well. I'm quite happy with him. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also if you're wanting to watch more of these videos, you're enjoying the content, be sure to click on that bell icon and the subscribe button. And if you've got any comments, any questions, anything that I've done you're not quite sure how I did it, or you're having to go and you get a bit stuck, pop it down there in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching. Stay warm, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.